Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Calgary Barbell for another Form Check Friday. Couple things to get out of the way first. Number one, we're at about June 15th with our submissions. We had a lot of people asking in the last video saying, where are you guys at? Where are you guys at? So that's first and foremost, June 15th. That's where we're at. If you're before that and you haven't received a response, maybe DM me on Instagram, send another email, whatever you need to do, but let us know, because I do pride myself on making sure we get back to every single person that submits. Second off, we have these pretty ballin' ass tank tops, and we're gonna be putting them on sale right away. So check in the store when this video comes out, and we'll have those at a special price for you. But getting down to it, our first submission comes from Haley. Now you can see Haley submitted a nice split screen video where we can see on the left she missed 255 for single. On the right, she hit 255 for a single. So you can definitely tell some things went a little bit differently from the left video to the right video. On the left and on the right, actually. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is bracing. So if you check out that video we put out last week about how to properly sort of align your trunk, as well as if you look at the dead bug video that we did not long ago, that can be good practice and something that I often try to get people to include in their warm-up as practice for maintaining that neutrality in the trunk. You can see on the left and on the right here, Haley really overextends and arches and goes into that sort of excessive curve of the low back, the excessive lordosis as she descends. So that's one thing that I think we could do a lot better, is brace that trunk in a bit of a more neutral position. Now the other thing, and that's the biggest difference between the left and the right side, is that when she comes up out of the hole, weight shoots way back onto her heels, her butt shoots up behind her, and she ends up in a little bit of a squat morning sort of position. On the right, less so, and she's able to catch it and complete the squat because of a bit better positioning. So those are the two biggest things I would work on. Is number one, work on your bracing and making sure you're not extending and tilting your hips to start your movement. Try and tilt your whole trunk and your whole torso as a unit. And work on trying to keep those knees forward as you begin the squat out of the bottom, so we can make sure that you're staying in your quads and we're not getting into that squat morning position by shifting way back onto the heels, letting the knees come back and letting your butt shoot out behind you. So that's the biggest things there. Next up, we got a video from Zach. Now Zach's doing the first day of his meet prep. He's squatting reps, so he's got 315 on the bar. I think he's doing about 5 reps. Now, again, I'm going to touch on that bracing, because the first thing he's doing is really tilting and really overextending. Now, a lot of times when you come out of the hole with this pattern of overextension, it causes a really, really pronounced sticking point, and you can see about halfway up his range of motion, every time really slows down until things start to align, and then he has the power and the positioning to be able to finish the lift. I think we're going to see a lot less of that pronounced sticking point if we can avoid that overextension and avoid that loss of bracing and positioning. So that's the only thing I really want you to work on there. Other than that, basics look really good. Next up, ooh, how'd that get in there? Next up, our submission is from Kristen. Now, Kristen's got some deadlifts, and deadlifts honestly look really, really good. I don't really have anything to say about them. Looks like she's packing into a good position. She's doing a good job throughout the whole range of motion, so I'm not going to say much about her deadlifts. Squats, on the other hand, we can see there's a pronounced moment in the bottom position of her squat where she's getting sort of pulled forward ever so slightly, and by the third or fourth rep here, it becomes even more pronounced. So you can see the bar is now starting to take her out onto her toes. So there's a few things I'd try to fix here to counteract that. Number one, I would say try to maintain a little bit more tightness into your bottom position. Now that can be really strongly affected by your tempo, so maybe slowing down the change of direction ever so slightly. The other big cue that I would offer is just to simply think about keeping the weight on your heels a little more, and think about pushing back into the hole to make sure that your weight stays a little bit further back and your center of gravity is a little bit further back and more in line with where the weight of the bar is weighing on you. Other than that, not a lot going wrong there, but I definitely work on that, because you can see, like I said, as we get to third or fourth rep, really starting to pull you out of position. So next up, we got a video from Ben here. Now Ben's squat, first and foremost, he said he was having some hip pain. He was able to solve it by transitioning into a more narrow stance, toes sort of straight forward, staying more upright, sitting straight down, and you can see this is a beautiful, beautiful squat. I got nothing to say about that. I just kind of wanted to show it because I like it. It's akin to what I've had to do to my squat in order to eliminate hip pain. So kudos to you, man. I'm glad that you got past that. The deadlift that Ben also submitted, he said he's trying to transition to a flat back deadlift, and it looks like you can see right as he sets up here, he goes into a little bit of overextension. So I think we're going a little bit past neutral, and you can see as he starts the deadlift, he goes from overextension back to neutral. So we're still getting a little bit of movement and a little bit of articulation in your back and in that, that sort of lumbar pelvic region. So I'd like to try and eliminate that and get to a little bit more of a neutral position before you start, as opposed to overextension. It can be tough going from one to the other, but keep filming yourself from the side and watch that exact point, sort of where your low back curves into your pelvis. Let's try to eliminate that. Another thing that he mentioned in his email that he sent to me is something that I like to talk about, or that I would like to talk about rather. And that's that he feels really good deadlifting without a belt, but he finds when he puts the belt on, it really messes with his proprioception, or his ability to feel where things are in space. And I've had a similar conversation with a lot of people about being able to achieve a good neutral position, putting the belt on, and then not being able to feel that same position. So there's a couple things I would try for anybody having that struggle. Number one, I'd try to wear the belt a little bit looser, at least to start with, so you can help yourself by decreasing the amount of stimulus and the amount of sensation that the belt is giving you. The other thing I would try to do is change the position of the belt, either up or down your trunk. In a lot of cases, that can be a big thing if we're not on top of the I guess the joints or the junction that you're needing to articulate and really feel for. If you move the belt ever so slightly off that, or above or below that, can help a fair bit. And the other thing, I had this conversation with a guy in Barrie, Bob, shout out if you're watching this, but he turned his belt buckle to the side because he found that when he came down between his trunk and his thighs, the buckle caused him to not be able to extend properly and to get into a good neutral position. So that would be the third thing I would think about, is moving your moving your buckle so it's not interfering with anything in front of you and your ability to get into a good position. So that's just a little bit of a rant about that, but hopefully it's helpful for some of you guys out there. And lastly, we have a video from Muhammad. Now, Muhammad's email simply stated, "Why do I fall forward in my squat?" Now, Muhammad, the reason that happens is because you're allowing your knees to drive backwards out of the hole. We're getting out of the quads. Now, we talked a little bit about this with Haley earlier, but I feel like this video really helps to articulate the same point that I was trying to make. So I put it in here to kind of reinforce some of those same cues. Keep the knees forward, keep that weight mid-foot, keep it from shifting to your heel. You can see as the set goes on, it gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse until the last couple reps, you're getting really pulled forward out of the bottom. But that's the long and short of it, Muhammad, and that's why you end up tipping forward and why you end up on your toes, is because the weight shifts the weight shifts backwards, way back onto your heels. Your knees come back out of the bottom, your hips shoot up behind you, and you're put into this sort of squat morning position. And now, being able to stay upright, I think that some things like pause squats, pin squats, tempo squats, all those sorts of things that we regularly suggest are going to be able to help you groove what you want to be doing in the bottom position, making sure you don't squish in the bottom, and making sure that you're able to properly leverage your quads when you're squatting. Anyways, guys, that's it for Form Check Friday today. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more of this stuff. Anybody interested in submitting for Form Check Friday, email is in the description box below. It's Calgary Barbell 2 calgarybarbell2@gmail.com. I know that's confusing, but Dylan made the address, so it's his fault. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.